look, guys, DeAndre Hopkins. I'll get this out of the way now. No. For the Lions, no. Fit, no. You're trying to go all in for a year? No. Not interested. I'm not interested. I don't think you're ready for a DeAndre Hopkins.
What does that mean?
So what it means is you are an established winning situation. You've accomplished at least 2 or 3, in my opinion. This is my definition of accomplishment. You're well established enough where in the last 5 years you've won 2 or 3 division titles. You've won multiple playoff games. You've made a trip to a conference championship game in the last 3 to 5 years. So to me, the Niners, the Bills, the Bengals, those are obvious teams for me. But for the Detroit Lions that have all the chemistry in the world right now, that have everything clicking on all cylinders, they're feeling good about the offseason. You think they're probably going to win 11, 12 games this year, depending on, let's be honest. The over-under's at 9.5. I say 11. Jeff says 11. Some of you say 12. Hell, I've seen 13 out there. I'm not interested in bringing a guy who literally will demand at least 9 targets a game. A guy that, again, success is not DeAndre Hopkins' forte. Granted, I can't hold the Arizona situation against him. But this is an alpha looking to win and get the ball. I haven't even started winning in Detroit. I don't think Detroit's ready for him. I'm going to pass.
I agree with you. I thought about it because you don't have J-Mo the first 6 weeks, but I think you hit it on the head, and that's kind of where I went too with it. I mean, with DeAndre and what he's expecting, let me just read what his demands are, which, it is what it is that he goes on a podcast and lists out his demands and lists out quarterbacks he'd like to play for. I don't think that's a player that the Lions would like, but let me just read off some of the things DeAndre Hopkins is looking for, okay? He desires on his next team, the first thing, a quarterback that loves the game and brings everybody on board with him. What he did note, Kyler Murray is one of those guys, because immediately, I think it was Brandon Marshall was like, what about Kyler? Does he not love the game? He's like, oh, no, he does. He's just injured. It's like, okay, all right, DeAndre Hopkins. Great defense is the second one. Defense wins championships. This is his quote. Got to have a great D-line, okay? Stable management, and it says because he says he's been through 4 GMs in his career. And then just to add the Kyler quote, he said, I think Kyler is a QB who loves the game, but he's injured. Whatever, I'll just take that with a grain of salt. But you see the 3 things he's requiring, okay? Lions do match up a lot of those things, but no. I'm staying away from DeAndre Hopkins. I think with what the Lions have in-house, that you saw it last year with Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond. I know they're not household names, but they still were able to be productive offensively, even with those guys. And I think what makes the Lions' offense so good or great last year is you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, but everybody else, they spread the ball around. There's not a guy that demands targets. I wouldn't even say Amon-Ra demands targets. You just have to get him the football because he's so damn good. It's not like Amon-Ra's a diva. Like, the guy's the ultimate team player, and that's kind of the makeup of this entire team. I don't think Hopkins is a great fit. And I want to read off the quarterbacks he'd want to play for because he threw this in there as well. Top 5 quarterbacks he'd play for. Number 1, Josh Allen. Number 2, Jalen Hurts. Number 3, Patrick Mahomes. Number 4, Lamar Jackson. And number 5, Justin Herbert. 4 out of the 5 are in the AFC.
Oh, I would love for DeAndre Hopkins to go to Baltimore so he can just cry. Cry when Lamar Jackson can't hit him on a 15 and out.
Okay.
It'd be amazing to watch.
I would argue that I think DeAndre is a good fit with Lamar because he's not a guy he's not a deep threat. He's just a possession receiver. I think Lamar would love DeAndre Hopkins. But Lamar, I don't think with Jared Goff in this offense, he's a guy that you want in your building. I'm going to be honest with you. I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. I think you just be patient until Jameson gets back. You have enough weapons to at least keep this offense afloat. And DeAndre, in terms of his personality, he's just always been a lot for any team he's been a part of. And I don't think a distraction like DeAndre Hopkins on a team like the Lions, to your point, Adam, they haven't accomplished anything. They want to win a playoff game. I don't want a guy like DeAndre in the locker room right now. I don't want anything to offset what they're already building, so I ain't touching him. But I thought it was interesting that, again, all the quarterbacks he listed, all in the AFC besides Jalen Hurts.
He's past his prime years. I don't think it makes any sense for the Lions, but I want to do an even deeper dive because I think there's a lot of... How would I put this? I think there's a lot you can take away from this DeAndre Hopkins-Kyler situation in Arizona that really lead you to accept, maybe more than you do now, Jared Goff.
Mm-hmm.
And how I'm going to flip this is Kyler Murray, after year one, was considered a franchise quarterback. Came out the gate, 3,700 yards in the air, 20-plus touchdowns, ran for almost 600 yards. He was phenomenal his rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year. Year two, year three, Pro Bowler, but winning? Can we do that? Okay, the year he started winning, which was year three, he got hurt.
And they collapsed at the end, too.
Yep. Okay, well, year four, right? He's going to start entering his maturity. 11 games, 3-8. Team falling apart, coach not working. Look, Kyler Murray, I still think can be a good quarterback in the NFL, a good one.
Mm-hmm.
But this is why it is such... We do this in the NBA. Everybody's a superstar nowadays. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic, Donovan. Everybody's a superstar now. You don't have to win anything. You don't have to prove anything. Who's more of a franchise quarterback? Kyler Murray or Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow's been in the league 1 year less. He's been to 2 AFC championship games.
I don't even have to answer that. We know who it is. We know who's a franchise quarterback.
Like, Kyler, the fact that they're questioning your ability to study film, your commitment in the offseason. I mean, dude, you're average. You're average. Do I think you can be a really good quarterback? Yeah, I mean, he has a load of potential. Throws the ball really well, by the way. But his inability to stay healthy, he hasn't played a full season in 2 years, over 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem, man. That's a problem.
Yeah.
So, look, DeAndre Hopkins going, I think, to me, is a fresh reminder of how good you have it in Detroit, because you could have one of those other quarterbacks that does struggle to stay on the field, that maybe doesn't produce at the level you want. And then there's a Jared Goff who, for his career, has relatively been always healthy, doesn't miss many games, and gives you a solid solution. I'm not saying he's the best. I'm not saying he's in the Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Patrick. No, he's not. But you know who else isn't? Kyler Murray. You know who I'd rather have to be my quarterback right now? Kyler Murray or Jared Goff? Definitely Jared Goff. So I think we can look at this situation and say it's a really nice reminder of how good of a situation you have here in Detroit with Jared Goff. Just remember that. Because you could have Kyler Murray, Detroit, and you'd be pulling your hair out of your head.
Oh, with that contract, I definitely would. I'd be bald at this point, having to talk about that every single morning. But with DeAndre, I want to mention this too, and another reason why I don't like it. Why does DeAndre Hopkins have to go on this like world tour? As in, like, he's
past his prime.
Oh, that's the most funny thing. And when people bring up diva wide receiver, although I think that term gets lost in translation, because again, if you're a really, really good wide receiver, you got to be a little bit of a diva. I don't think that's a huge deal. But with DeAndre Hopkins, to be out here on a world tour, going on podcasts, listening what he wants, what quarterbacks he'd like to play for, who are you? Like, DeAndre is one of the best receivers when healthy. I'll give him that. If you have him in fantasy, you'd understand that. But what is this? Like, even for the Lions and their culture, he is so polar opposite of who they want to bring in terms of personality, and they always bring up football character. Can you imagine Amon-Ra, like, one day just going on all these podcasts, listing off what he wants and what teams he'd play for? Dude, you're not LeBron in 2011. Like, relax. Or 2010. Like,
look, I love D-Hop as a former DeAndre Hopkins fantasy football owner. He made me very happy with Colt McCoy for a stretch of the past season. But, no. He's past his prime. He hasn't had a 1,000-yard year in the last 2 years. He struggled with injuries, and he had a suspension. I don't want to hear it. You can go do a world tour. You can go be the number 2, number 3 option on a contending team. I'm good. I'll pass on it if I'm in Detroit. And I hope Kyler Murray is a perfect example of, you wanting a franchise quarterback. Would you want him over Goff? Let me ask you straight up.
No, I wouldn't.
Would you take Kyler Murray right now? Or Jared Goff?
No. Jared Goff.
What if you were paying them the same amount of money?
Jared Goff.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
The chat is very much on the same page, so the poll closed, and it was 75% no, 24% yes.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Even DeAndre, like, we didn't even get to availability. Just suspended the last 2 seasons. He's played in 9 games, 10 games.
Yep.
And again, in those games, he was productive, but a receiver I can't count on. Don't love his mentality. And I don't think he'd be a great fit for the Lions anyway. Those are 3 strikes, you're out. So I'm good on DeAndre Hopkins. But it is an interesting conversation. I could see a team, And I know that they put the Eagles in here. Eagles ain't touching them. I could see the Bills, maybe Cowboys potentially.
Yeah, but
either of those teams.
listen to what
maybe
you're
the
saying.
Ravens would be a great fit. But
Listen
Lions,
to what DeAndre Hopkins is saying.
Don't do it.
Hey, I need a mature situation. I can't do this rebuild shit. I'm not trying to prove anything. I want to walk into a good, mature situation, and I want to win. That's not Detroit. Even if he said Detroit, it's not Detroit. Detroit has yet to win a division, yet to make the playoffs. Like, it's just not ready. In a year from now, or two, after you've won the division multiple times, after you've won a playoff game or two, and you are considered one of the contenders, then there may be somebody available, maybe not DeAndre Hopkins, but someone like that available on the defensive side of the ball, on the offensive side, whatever it is. And the Lions will be candidates for it because they're one of the contenders, leading contenders in the NFL. You have to prove that still. So I don't think it's a fit. I don't think it works. We'll take a break.